So I made a start by doing a bit of research, loaded up Google, had a bit of a look, and what do we got? We got quirky, not as aggressive as I originally thought, considering there's guns and shit. Kind of cartoony to me as well, like the mix between different vehicles, blimps, fucking helicopters. Right, so going off that art style, I then went and got myself some source material. Not gonna lie, I already had an idea in my head of what I wanted, so most of what I just fucking showed you is completely useless. Anyway, what I did have in my head was cross between a wind-up toy and a small motor of sorts. So, first, I tried replicating the wind-up mechanism. I used the sample of a ratchet screwdriver to create this, where I doubled it up and fucking moved it apart slightly so there was way more texture. Like, I guess when you do a flam on a snare. Here's the ratchet just by itself so you can get what I mean. Then the second layer was added. And I had to decrease the pitch of the second layer because it sounded a bit too thin. And it added a bit of pitch variation. I then went and did some corrective EQing. First taking out those piercing highs in the first ratchet click. Then added some back in the second ratchet click because it became kind of dull once I pitched it down. Lastly, I took off a load of bass and low mid frequencies to make way for the other sound here, which was made up of just a standard drill. So by itself, I didn't think there was enough going on, so I added a second layer, but this time it was a ribbon mic sample of the same recording that I just displaced. This ribbon mic sample was way meatier than the first one, which is one reason I didn't pitch it or anything. There was enough variation between the two anyway. I put both of them into a group before I added a compressor, which I used to glue them together and bring out some more of the transients, because otherwise it was becoming this long, monotonous drone, kind of like my voice. EQing this took so fucking long. The amount of times I went back and adjusted it, because there's this high-pitched sound in the area that the clicking mechanism of the drill is, which I tried to get out when actually recording it, but there was no position that helped it. Other than that, I've rolled off some of the lows, and the rest is kind of up to you, because there's this lower groan, which I liked sometimes, but not others. The higher pitched clicks, I liked more of it sometimes and not others. Yeah, that was all down to personal preference more. I think I would be changing that forever. But moving on to the master, this is where the sound got a lot cleaner, and it became a cohesive unit at this point as well. I added a teeny bit of compression, just to bring the dynamics together. So next I did some damn major EQing. I mean, I didn't completely like the sound before, but adding that compressor just made it extremely messy. From hums to constant noise in places. They were just muddying up the sound. Also, I was a bit too generous with the amount of highs I gave here, but there was a method to my madness, because there's a tape emulator after this which was rolling off some of the highs, so I was compensating with this. Now, if anything was bloody key to this sound, it was the tape emulator. I pushed it a little bit, and it added saturation and flattened out some of the transients. And I know I'd been saying I'd been trying to get those transients to come through a bit, but by this point they'd just got a bit too spiky. And I know I could have just adjusted the compressors, but this softened them out and made it sound thicker than what I would have got if I just had left the compressors, probably due to the saturation. Also, this is extremely subtle, but I did turn up the wow and flutter, and it added a bit of pitch variation, which I thought went with that whole quirky, kind of cartoony feel. Finally, I used a multi-band compressor. Now, this is doing next to nothing, basically, but what I tried to do with it was add a bit more clarity to the sound, and I think I got that with the little adjustments I made, so do as you will with it. It's not a need for this, basically. The tape saturator emulator was a lot more important here. Here's a short progression of each part of the process. And that's how I got to my final sound. So I guess thanks for watching. I'll be making one of these a week.